exploring the forgotten, true accounts from the darkest corners. There's something uniquely terrifying about stepping into places long forgotten by the world. Whether it's an abandoned hospital, a derelict factory, or a hidden bunker deep in the mountains, these locations seem to hold on to a piece of the past, a past that sometimes refuses to let go. In these stories, we'll dive into the real-life experiences of explorers who dared to venture into these shadowed places, only to find that some things are better left undisturbed. Prepare yourself for 3 unsettling tales of urban exploration gone wrong, where the only thing more chilling than the decay is the unknown that lurks within. First story, the abandoned hospital. I've always been fascinated by urban exploration. There's something hypnotic about stepping into places forgotten by time, where every decaying wall seems to hold secrets that will never be fully revealed. On this particular day, I decided to explore an old psychiatric hospital that had been abandoned for decades. The locals avoided it like the plague, saying the place had a dark history, patients had been mistreated, and some had even disappeared without a trace. As I entered the building, the smell of mold and dampness hit me hard. The floorboards creaked under my feet, and I could hear the distant echo of what sounded like water dripping. The silence in a place like that is suffocating. Every little noise, whether real or imagined, feels amplified. I had my flashlight, but its beam seemed weak against the oppressive darkness. As I walked deeper into the hospital, I saw old medical equipment covered in dust, rusty gurneys, and broken glass everywhere. After about 30 minutes of wandering through empty rooms, I reached what seemed to be the heart of the hospital, the patient rooms. Most doors were off their hinges, some locked tight. One door, however, was slightly ajar. I don't know what drew me to it, but I pushed it open with a slow creak. Inside, the air was colder, and the room was almost completely intact, unlike the others. There was a hospital bed in the middle, and on it lay a perfectly folded patient's gown. It was strange, like someone had left in a hurry but cared enough to leave everything in order. I was about to turn around when I heard it, light footsteps behind me. They were unmistakable, not an echo, not my imagination. I turned my flashlight towards the hallway but saw nothing. Yet, I could feel it, something watching me. My body was frozen with the kind of fear you can't explain, only experience. I bolted out of the room, sprinting down the hallway, but as I reached the exit, I glanced back one last time. Standing at the end of the hall, in the dim light of my flickering flashlight, was the silhouette of a person, still as a statue. I didn't stick around to see what would happen next. Second story, the factory at the edge of town. There's an old factory just outside the town where I grew up. It's been closed down for as long as anyone can remember, and locals swear the place is haunted. As a teenager, I used to go there with friends, daring each other to spend the night inside. Most of the time, we would just end up scaring ourselves with ghost stories. But one night, something happened that none of us could explain. We had just entered the main factory floor. It was a huge, open space with rusting machinery scattered around like forgotten relics. Our flashlights barely illuminated the vast darkness around us. After a few minutes of exploring, we found an old elevator shaft, completely out of service, the doors jammed open. My friend dared me to look inside, so I did. Shining my light down the shaft, I could see the elevator car, stuck at the bottom, about 3 stories down. There was nothing particularly eerie about it, but then I heard a metallic clang echoing up from the depths. At first, I thought it was one of my friends messing with me, but when I looked around, they were all standing a few feet behind me, just as confused. Then it happened again, louder this time. A deep, metallic banging, like something was trying to force its way up the shaft. We all stood there, frozen, when suddenly the doors started to close. Slowly, painfully, as if the machinery was coming back to life after decades of disuse. That was enough for us. We sprinted back towards the exit, but just before we reached the door, we heard one final sound, a loud screeching, like metal grinding against metal, followed by the unmistakable echo of something heavy, maybe the elevator, starting to move. We didn't stop running until we were back in town. To this day, none of us have gone back, and we never talk about what happened in that factory. But sometimes, late at night, when it's quiet, I swear I can still hear that metallic clanging in the distance. Third story, the mountain bunker. This one is different from the others because it didn't happen in a city or an old building. It happened deep in the mountains. A group of friends and I were hiking in a remote area, far from any marked trails. We had been walking for hours when we stumbled across something we weren't expecting, a metal hatch hidden beneath a thick layer of leaves and dirt. It looked old, rusted, and out of place in the middle of nowhere. Curiosity got the best of us, and after some effort, we managed to pry the hatch open. It revealed a narrow set of stairs leading down into the earth. The air that escaped from below was cold and stale, sending an immediate chill through us. We debated whether we should go down, but as always with these things, the thrill of discovery won. The stairs seemed to go on forever, spiraling down into darkness. When we finally reached the bottom, our flashlights revealed a long, concrete hallway, its walls lined with rusted pipes and old equipment. It looked like some sort of abandoned military bunker, maybe from the Cold War. As we moved deeper into the bunker, the atmosphere became heavier. The silence down there was absolute, like the earth itself was pressing in on us. After what felt like hours of wandering through the bunker's empty rooms and corridors, we found a large chamber that appeared to be some kind of control room. There were old computers, thick with dust, and a large map on the wall. Everything was decaying, as if untouched for decades. But what disturbed us the most was the chair in the middle of the room. It was turned away from us, facing a blank wall. There was no reason for it to be there, and it looked out of place, like it had been moved recently. One of my friends walked over and, against all our better judgment, turned the chair around. To our horror, it wasn't empty. Lying on the seat was an old gas mask, perfectly placed as if waiting for someone to put it on. The sight of it sent a wave of panic through the group. We all felt it, this overwhelming sense that we weren't alone down there. Suddenly, the lights, dim as they were, flickered and went out. In the darkness, we heard something, a faint scraping sound coming from the direction we had come. We didn't wait to find out what it was. We ran, using our flashlights to navigate back through the maze of corridors, but it felt like the bunker was playing tricks on us, with every hallway looking the same. After what felt like an eternity, we made it back to the hatch and scrambled up the stairs into the daylight. We slammed the hatch shut behind us, and none of us dared to look back. To this day, I still wonder who, or what, was down there, waiting. Fourth story, the forgotten school. There's an old school at the edge of a small town, long abandoned and left to decay. Locals would often warn against going near it, saying it was cursed or haunted by the spirits of children who never left. Naturally, the legends made it the perfect target for urban explorers like me and my friends. We decided to check it out one weekend, thinking it was just another decaying building filled with creaky floors and broken windows. The building was in worse shape than we expected. Nature had taken over, the windows were shattered, vines crept up the walls, and the roof had collapsed in some places. Inside, the hallways were lined with lockers, some still standing, others crumpled and rusted. The smell of mold hung heavy in the air, and the silence was overwhelming. As we explored, it became clear that we weren't the first ones to enter. Graffiti marked the walls, and trash littered the floors, signs of previous visitors. But it felt wrong, like the place was more than just abandoned. It felt watched. We made our way to the gymnasium, the largest room in the school. The bleachers were rotting, and the basketball hoops hung crookedly. As we stood there, one of my friends noticed something strange in the far corner, a small pile of toys. Old, worn-out dolls, action figures, and even a few stuffed animals, all arranged neatly in a circle. It was bizarre, given that no child had been in this place for decades. Who would have brought them here? And why were they arranged like that? That's when we heard it, a faint sound, like giggling, coming from the hall we had just walked through. It was unmistakable. The kind of sound that shouldn't exist in a place like that. We stood frozen, exchanging glances, trying to rationalize it, but deep down, we all knew something was wrong. One of my friends decided to call out, as if challenging whatever, or whoever, was there. Big mistake. The giggling stopped abruptly, replaced by a loud crash from somewhere down the hall. It sounded like a door slamming shut, hard enough to make the walls shake. Without thinking, we bolted toward the exit. As we ran, we could hear footsteps behind us, quick and light, as if someone, or something, was chasing us. But when we reached the front doors and turned around, there was no one there. Just the long, empty hallway. We never went back to that school. But every once in a while, I still hear that giggling in my head. And I can't shake the feeling that whatever was in that building wasn't done with us. We just got lucky enough to escape. Exploring abandoned places is a quest for adventure and forgotten stories, but these experiences can also bring to light something deeper and more disturbing. The stories you've just heard are just a glimpse of what can happen when we cross the borders of the unknown. In each of these places, echoes of the past linger, and the traces of once vibrant lives now fade into dark whispers. With every step we take into environments like crumbling hospitals, decaying factories, or crumbling schools, we are reminded that we are not alone. What may seem like just an abandoned place may, in fact, be home to memories and energies that refuse to fade. The stories told here warn us about the risks we take when venturing into the unknown, and the line between curiosity and danger is often thinner than we realize. So the next time you find yourself drawn to the idea of exploring a forgotten place, remember, there are secrets that are best kept hidden, and stories that are perhaps best left untold. After all, some doors, once opened, may never be closed again. Thank you for following these stories of exploration and mystery. May they serve as a reminder that in every shadow, there may be something waiting to be discovered, or something that would rather remain in the dark.